Dear students, we're going to start with the last unit of our syllabus, and that's the unit 5. In the meantime, I want you to get through your lesson plan. So let me open the file. In your lesson plan, you would know what is all that we had finished so far. So I'm opening the lesson plan. So we had already seen what is called unit 1 and then unit 2. Now, these two units were covered before the lockdown situation, and then partly unit 2, that is from questionnaire design. That means the last component of unit 2 couldn't be done during the regular class hours, so we had to do this during our lockdown situation. Then unit 3 also was done during the lockdown. Then we had just finished with unit 4, and then today we're going to start with unit 5 called presentation of results, or in other words, report writing. So I'll copy this and then I'll open the new PPT file. Here, instead of this, I'll just simply copy unit 5 title. Yeah, for the sake of clarity. So this is how our unit 5 file is going to be. This is the last step in the series, and in the meantime, I also want you to get refreshed. So what I would do, I'll open our very first file in which we would see this is not the one. So yeah, probably I can see this now. This is our research process. Now, if you had frequently gone through, you would have noticed that we had finished off with step 1 called assessing relevant and existing knowledge, then how to formulate concepts and prepositions, how to convert prepositions into hypotheses, and then what is called research design, then how to acquire empirical data, and then we had also seen how to analyze and evaluate the data. Today we are going to see the last step, which is part of unit 5 called providing explanations and stating new problems. So before we state a new problem, it's better to look through the explanations. Now, stating a new problem is part of your last part of the thesis called conclusions, in which you would explain what should be done for the future, what kind of research should be carried out in the future. So I'll close all of this. So get back to our unit 5 slide. So I'll start the slideshow. Now, since it's called presentation of the results and then report writing, so results is the centrality of a report. So most focus would be on report writing. In addition to this, I want to try two more separate videos. So I just want to show you what are they. Now you can see here how to write a dissertation or how to write a project report, or it could be also called how to write a thesis, master's thesis. So I'm going to run this separately that I would show you afterwards. And then there would be another video on how did I write during my college days, my MBA project. So this is SFC's MBA project. So I want to show you exactly how did I do, and I'm willing to share all these files with all of you. So therefore, during this lockdown situation, you can be very productive in learning this subject called research methodology until the end. So since we are moving into the last step and then the last unit of the syllabus, I want you to pick up the strength. So let's start with it. So what is it we are going to cover in this video or in this class? Most importantly, why we should write. In our high school days, our teachers would have asked us to write essays, participate in essay competitions, because writing is so important, because writing gives meaning, or writing helps us express what is there in our minds. All our tacit knowledge, tacit knowledge refers to knowledge which is hidden in our memories. All our tacit knowledge can become explicit knowledge. Explicit knowledge means knowledge which is manifested, knowledge which is presented in the written form is called explicit knowledge. So whatever you have on your mind, if you are not putting it in writing, tacit knowledge will never be known to the whole world. Probably it would die along with you. So don't let any of your wonderful ideas, any of your wonderful knowledge that you have should die with you. So it must be expressed in the written form. So we're going to have a quick review on why we write, and then we will define what is called reporting. And then there are various types of reports that we have to learn to write. And then there are certain styles or formats of writing. We will not elaborate more on them because they are not part of our syllabus. But when you go for higher studies, particularly if you want to go for PhD, or if you want to go abroad and study PhD, you would be insisted on following one of these styles. Not only that, writing style and writing formats are suggested by certain universities. So, therefore, if you are pursuing studies in certain universities, you have to comply with their own style of writing. So, you have to pick up various styles of writing as a young guy. Now, there are various softwares for writing reports exclusively. In fact, in this era, for everything you have software, either it's a commercial one or an open source. So get into that movement called open source movement. Register with all those open source platforms, and then periodically you would know what is happening in the open source movement. And that's the way you would be getting familiarized with the latest trends, latest technologies that are happening. So I'm part of that movement, so I would be very much using all open source softwares. I will write reviews on those softwares so that it helps the programmers to develop much better products. So here we do have some softwares for writing reports, but you have to pick up one of those softwares. There's no other way. Now, there are various steps in reporting, so we will follow each of the steps systematically. And then, most importantly, today, there is something called plagiarism. Plagiarism means extent of copying from others. In other words, we can even use the word stealing others' work. So, or it is called copyright material copied. So, you're not supposed to copy copyright material. So, when you copy, what happens? It's called plagiarism. So, there are so many softwares today on anti plagiarism, which means it would easily trace the extent of material copied from other sources. For example, if you had simply copy pasted somebody's material in your project report, this anti plagiarism software will exactly identify from which source, which website, to what extent, what is the percentage of copying that you had done. So you would be easily caught on that. And then now all colleges these days, most of them almost, I think most of the top B schools, top universities are insisting on that every student's assignments, classroom assignments, project reports are to be tested by plagiarism. So when you finish off your thesis or when you finish off your assignment, it must be submitted to a plagiarism software. It will scan the entire document and go through, and it would also identify what are the sources from which you had copied the material, and then it will also give you a certificate at the end, the extent of copying, and it will also give you a very detailed document, or 20-30 page document on from where did you copy all those hyperlinks, the documents, sources, and the websites. So based on that certificate, your report either would be accepted or rejected. So we'll talk very quickly about that in that, and then how to print the report. This is the place where this is the topic where I had seen a lot of students, almost 90-95% of the students struggle because When they go to the printing shop, the layout of their project reports in MS Word format all got disturbed. Why does that happen? Very quickly, I will touch upon it, not elaborately, because I'm sure your generation would know how to handle all this on your laptops. So let's move on very quickly. Why write? Why should we write? Now, when you write, you're contributing to the knowledge. In this world, everybody must contribute to the knowledge because knowledge is like a body, it must be growing gradually. So one day it must be a complete body. So when our knowledge is not contributed, the body is incomplete. Now, in order to get feedback about your knowledge, in order to get feedback about your thoughts, your ideas, you must write. Whether your ideas are right or wrong, whether your knowledge is right or wrong, whether your thoughts are right or wrong, you definitely need feedback. So that's why you must write. Now, we ensure in order to we write in order to ensure that our ideas, our knowledge, our thoughts have scientific rear. That means there is a science involved in whatever the ideas, whatever the knowledge, whatever the thoughts that we present to the audience. Now, when you write, it also builds your reputation. You're known across the world. For example, when you write on internet, people from across the world would read and give their feedback. And who knows, probably your ideas are helpful to so many. For example, during this lockdown situation, if you had written a lot of material on how to cope up with lockdown, I'm sure literally thousands and lakhs of people would have benefited from your writing. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity. You can still explore how to write blogs and then give a lot of inputs on how people can manage their lives during lockdown situation. It's a wonderful, I think, an opportunity that everybody should optimally utilize for building their knowledge, picking up various skills. Now I'm picking up music skills. I've done some innovative carpentry works. I've learned a lot of material, lot of work in the kitchen. So I'm doing a lot of what I would say testing of my own knowledge. I'm also picking up various skills. It's because we don't have any other work to do, so therefore we are creating work which in turn helps us build our knowledge and skills. Now let's start with what is reporting. I will define it and then we'll move very quickly. It's a process of recording all the research work in a narrative form. Narration is very, very important. So, right from step one to the last step, what are all the sub steps that you had followed? What are all the processes that you have carried out? All of them have to be narrated. That's what we call reporting. Now, it is logically and sequentially presented, which means step one, unless you describe how did you follow step one, you cannot explain what is step two and how did you follow it. So it has to be always stepwise. Every step, every sub step, every sub step, minutely, elaborately must be explained in detail. Now, there are various types of reports. Conveniently, we are only looking at technical and popular. Of course, we also have something called written reports and oral reports. So, you need to distinguish. A technical report could be written as well as oral. Similarly, a popular report could be written as well as oral. But you need to have some subtle distinctions between each of them. So, let me just go back again. Reports are of two types, namely technical reports and popular reports. Technical and popular reports could be further divided into written or oral, both. So therefore, when you're, let's also explore more deeper into each of those. A technical report is a scientific report. It could be a research report. It could be a committee report. For example, our government constitutes various committees. We have seen various committees which brought reports on reformation in this country. For example, Bhuthlingams Committee, Narsimham's Committee. You have various committees like that. Then there's a committee for reformation in the public sector undertakings. So you could find various committees like that. So therefore, what we will do, so to once again go back. to the types of reports. Technical reports are research reports, scientific reports, committee reports, reports which would help the society advance. And technical reports also address certain crucial problems which are very, very nagging and then, of course, plaguing the society. So, today, a lot of technical reports are happening on the televisions. Virtually every channel talks about the CV. So, this virus is very, very peculiar virus of all, because of which there's a lot of research work is going on across the world. 24 hours a day, scientists are doing a lot of research work, and then incrementally they are releasing the information, and such reports are called technical reports. Now, what is called a popular report? A popular report is for more of entertainment, or there would be a very, very large number of people excited to know about what is happening in this country. For example, what's happening in the Bollywood today? That's a popular report. So, what's happening in the music industry? That's a popular report. What's happening to the youth of today in this country? That's a popular report. Now, all books of stories, novels, magazines which cover a lot of what I would say fiction. So, that category of reports are called popular reports. And the distinction is technical reports are read by very small number of people, whereas popular reports are read by wider population. That's the basic difference. Now, a written report could be a technical report as well as a popular report. Similarly, oral reports also could be technical and popular. The distinction is in a written form, you have to present all your ideas very systematically, whereas in oral form, you have to prepare your presentation slides and get into the presentation mode. That's how we distinguish these reports. Now, writing styles. I'm not going to elaborate more on them, but at least you should know what are they. Now, there is a very, very popular writing style or format across the world, which is called APA style. So next time when you go to your guide might ask you, you better write your entire project report in APA style. Then you would ask your guide, what is APA style? Then your guide would think that you're so innocent. You don't know about APA style because you've never come across this word. So I'm sure after this video, you would never have that question. So APA stands for American Psychological Association Format or Style. So APA style. So what you could do, if you are more interested in what is called APA style of writing, better go to Google and type what is APA style. Then it will give you a lot of information about it. You can also download updated updated APA style. So the most latest format of APA style could be, because APA style had gone through multiple modifications. So you can always keep on looking through what is APA style in its updated form. Now the next one is called ASA style, Americans Sociological Association style. So it is different slightly from APA style. Some universities insist on ASA style. Some universities would insist on APA style. So accordingly, you have to adopt that style. Now there is another one called Chicago style. So Chicago University had insisted on this style for all its university students, and then other universities across the world are also following a Chicago style. Now, you might be wondering, why should I follow any of these styles? It's because of the logic built into each of that style. So if you can understand that logic, then you would adopt it. If your university or institution insists on any one of these, you better follow them, because your project will be accepted, otherwise it will be rejected. Now, we also have another one called Harvard style. So a lot of B schools follow this style, but yeah, I have seen many B schools following APA style. So identify. I think in most of my cases, I am following APA style because it is the most undisputed style without any kind of controversies around it. So I would follow APA style. Some people can follow Harvard style, but at least some style you have to follow. Now in your institution, if they're insisting on APA style, you better follow APA style. Now let's move on. to the various softwares for writing reports. Now, as you know, one of the best, in my opinion, because there can be many opinions, I may be wrong for that matter, but I have seen that after almost 30 years of working on project reports, there's nothing which can be closer to Adobe InDesign. Nothing, absolutely. It's because in Adobe InDesign, you have a lot of features, particularly something called styles. So you can define styles for your entire project report. By clicking the styles, anything that you want to change in your entire report, just with one stroke, you can change everything. For example, if you want to change the font for all the main headings of the thesis, it is possible. If you want to change the serial numbers of your side headings, just with one key you can change that, but not in various softwares. Of course, in MS Word also it is possible, but not versatile. MS Word is definitely not versatile. I'm not able to recollect an author who had written a book called How to Write Thesis in MS Word. So you can try that book. It should be available free, or it could be available 100%. I have checked it on Google Books. How to write thesis in MS Word. So they would give you a lot of commands like how your main heading should be, how your side heading should be. So if you create a template, everything will be automatically carried out according to that template. So, but I would still say Adobe InDesign is better. I think the best and disputed. But there are also some free softwares which I have tried out in the past. But of course, I'm not doing them now. One is called Lynx. It's an open source writing style software. I'll not elaborate more on that, but there's something called YWrite. I tried this much in the past, but I'm not doing it now. The beauty of this is it's such a small software, hardly in few kilobytes, not even 1 MB. Such a small software which was basically designed for those people who write novels, because in novels you can have what I would say main scene, sub scene, then narration, the conversations. So you can have separately like a tree and branching. So when you take one branch, you can have sub branches and keep writing according to those branches. Later on, you can join all of them. So that's the beauty of this software. So I would suggest some students might explore this. Rather, I mean, I would even suggest everybody to try this software called YWrite. Yeah, if you keep maneuvering through, I'm sure you can learn everything on your own, because that's the advantage of your generation. Because you were born with computers, you were born with the mindset which is tuned with the software. So any software you can easily learn. Not for us, of course, we struggled to learn all these softwares. So let me pause for a while here. So that's all about the software for writing reports. I would once again review them. Adobe InDesign is the best of all, because if you learn to write it in Adobe InDesign, there will be a perfect control over your documentation, and particularly the styles. You can keep changing all the fonts. For example, if you want to change the font of main heading, just with one key you can change it. For example, if you want to change the size of the side headings, or the font size of the font for all the side headings, or you want to change all the fonts or different fonts, just with one key you could always do it. But it's not that easy, because Adobe InDesign is a commercial software which is used mostly by desktop publishing or these printing shops. So therefore it's not that easy to learn, but yeah, I'm sure one can definitely learn it if you put your efforts into it. Nothing is difficult, everything is different, that's it. So of course MS Word is undisputed. You are day in day out working on MS Office products, so therefore you'll be familiar. But I've checked through, many students are not comfortable with certain keys, Some of them even don't know how to center the, what I would say, the headings. So they use space bar to do that instead of control E. So what is control E? These are all key short keys in using MS Word. Lynx is an open source writing software. It's also very popular today, but I would still ask you to try Write just for excitement, just for enthusiasm. You can learn something new, but it's basically done for this program is basically designed for novelists. But I'm sure you can also try using it in your scientific reports. So with that, we move on to the steps, the most crucial aspect of your step 5. I'm sorry, unit 5. So what are the steps involved in writing the report? Step 1, statement of the problem. As you are very familiar with it, here you would mention what I would say, research idea, research questions, your hypothesis, your objectives are all mentioned it here. And then description of the methodology, right, from research design, sampling, tools, methods, scales, reliability, validity, sampling, and so on. Then presentation of results, very important aspect. Once these are all systematically done, so therefore presentation of results, the type of tables that you choose, the type of statistics that you choose, the type of graphs or pictures that you choose to present your results. And that's the step. And then interpretation of the results. What does the table speak? What is there in the table? What are those percentages and frequencies talk about? What is hidden between those numbers or behind those numbers? Then what does that statistical test mean? Is it hypothesis accepted or rejected? If so, what does that mean? That's what we call interpretation. And then followed by drawing inferences. Inferences are what is there on your mind as you read through these numbers in the tables. When hypothesis is accepted or rejected, what does that mean to you? What could be the reasons for the status of hypothesis on its rejection or acceptance? What do you mean by them? That's what we call drawing inferences. That's one of the toughest parts in writing reports because you cannot draw inferences as you like. You have to give some rationale, you have to give logic, you have to give your, what I would say, defense, which is scientifically acceptable, or it should be acceptable to anybody else. That's what we call drawing inferences. So this is the toughest part. I've seen 95% of the students failing on this step. Of course, they will learn how to interpret the tables, but they fail on drawing inferences. Even the best of the students I have seen failing on it. PhD students particularly failing on it, I have seen. Now, presenting your conclusions. So this is very briefly how the steps are. We will, of course, in the next video, I'm going to elaborately show each of these steps very elaborately, and then presenting the references. Here, references mean the books, the journals that you had read or referred, the authors that you have cited in the chapters of your thesis. See, author names, their year of publication, all would come under this. That also I will elaborate that in the next slide. Now, bibliography. There is a distinction between references and bibliography. So, in references, particularly the authors that you have mentioned in the thesis, in the running sentences, you would you would elaborately mention them under references. Now here you might have read some books and journals, but you didn't quote the authors inside the main body of the thesis. You would mention those books here or journals here. So that's the difference. Once again, references mean the authors that you have quoted in the main body of the thesis by their year of publication. So you would mention all those author names under references. Whereas under bibliography, you might not have quoted author names anywhere in the main body of the thesis, but you had read them. So you can quote, you can mention all those authors by their books, by their articles published in the journals. That's how we finish off with the brief explanation of the steps. Now let's move on with statement of the problem. So once again, we'll quickly look through the steps and then I'll discontinue the topic here, and then we'll have another video in which I would elaborately show each of these steps. So statement of the problem, in which you have to mention your research idea, your research questions, your research objectives, and then the hypothesis, either null or alternative. Then in the next step, you have to describe your methodology, in which you have to mention elaborately the research design, the sampling, the methods and tools of data collection, the measurements or the scales that you had adopted or developed on your own, and then also talk about reliability, validity of the measurements, and then data processing and analysis. In other words, how did you collect the data? How did you enter the data in computers? What softwares did you use? And then how did you analyze the data? That means what type of tables that you had made, what kind of statistical tests that you had applied, followed by the chapterization. How many chapters are there in the entire thesis? Very briefly, you have to mention. And then next one is presentation of results. In presentation of results, you have to present results tabular form with statistical tests, then the graphs or the pictures that you have developed, and also particularly you have to present them according to the hypothesis. For example, if you have hypothesis 1, first table has to be on hypothesis 1. Similarly, as many hypotheses, so many tables have to be accordingly presented. And for every objective, you should have a table. If you don't have a table for a given objective, that objective is not the real objective. 95% of the students come with objectives in their project reports, but they're not supported by tables. So we would ask them to delete all those objectives or rebuild the tables according to the objectives. So every objective has to be fulfilled in presentation of the results. Then interpretation of the tables and the statistics is a very, very important step. It's not that difficult, but systematically it can be learned. Now, what do you mean by the percentages and the frequencies? The associations between the variables, the relationships between the variables, the degree of relationship between the variables, the concept of difference, the concept of variance, effects, predictions, all can be mentioned in this accordingly. And then what do you mean by those results is called drawing inferences. What is happening on your mind every time when you look through those results? Every time you look into the table, what patterns are there hidden? What trends are emerging in those? So if you are extracting all those with the application of your own knowledge, we call them inferences. Giving justifications, giving rationals, giving reasons with support of review of literature. You can also pick up from the review of literature. Some authors also found in their own studies results in the same order. So you can also quote them. They also found in similar findings. So what reasoning, what logic, what explanations they have given, you could also do it here. That's what we call the inferences. And finally, we go through the conclusion. Conclusion is basically the summary of all the chapters. If you're presenting your project report in 5 chapters, 5 summary paragraphs have to be included under conclusion. Followed by references is a place where you would mention all the authors and their years of publication you have quoted in the main body of the thesis. There can be books, there can be from journals also. Whereas bibliography is different from references. Under bibliography, you would mention only the authors and their journal name, their book names, the title of the articles in which they have published, and you would mention them because you just read them. You referred those books and journals, but you did not quote the authors' names inside the body. That's the basic difference. So that's it. We will stop here, and in the next video, I'm going to show you elaborately each of these steps. So until then, I wish you all the best.